It is no secret the Bulls and Jimmy Butler were at odds last season, but Jimmy made it pretty clear that it was specifically Coach Fred Hoiberg that he had some, let's say, differences of opinion with, I think is the nicest way to say it. In an interview with Vice Sports, he says, quote, "There are different coaching styles and people are going to say," which is what they did say, quote, "it's going to be Jimmy's team or it's going to be Fred's team. Two total opposite ends of the spectrum. They're either going to try to win it now or they're going to go young, and you see which way they went with it." He also talked in that interview about how he's more of a confrontational player, gets in guys' faces. Fred Hoiberg, he says, is not confrontational. What do you make of Butler publicly discussing this now?
Well, first of all, it was no surprise, obviously, if you paid attention to what was going on there. But I think what happens most of the time is every fire and every hire is an overreaction to what you had before. Right. And so they went polar opposite from Thibodeau. Yeah. And Thibodeau had a whole group of guys that he raised to think a certain way. So obviously Fred was going to be at odds with that because philosophically they're different people. Yeah. That doesn't mean Fred's not a good basketball coach. It means there was an awful lot of change for a team with a guy like Jimmy Butler.
What I would say is he lost that locker room during the Joakim Noah thing, where he said that, oh, Joakim is okay going to the bench, and then Joakim was like, no, I didn't say that at all. So right there, he lost the locker room, in my opinion. I was on this show and said to you that I don't think he's an NBA coach. Now, I don't mean that as a shot. Rick Pitino wasn't an NBA coach, and he's a great college coach. And I think certain guys are set up better in certain situations. Now, in a rebuilding situation with a bunch of young guys, he may actually prove me wrong and prove that he can coach a team like that. But ultimately, I think that's the issue, is that he lost that locker room way at the beginning.
I mean, you were trying to trade for Jimmy Butler the day you left the Cleveland Cavaliers. You obviously think highly of him and what he brings to the table.
Well, he's a player very similar to Isiah and Jay in that he's an overachiever, and he's somebody who identified himself with grit and toughness first. And Chicago was really blessed that he turned into somebody that was as good as he was offensively. When they drafted him, they really wanted him to be the role piece that was going to be about defense. So this is a guy who's the total package in many ways. And again, I expect him to feel the way he felt. Yeah. It's just, Fred may not be the right coach for 27 teams, but there's a fit for him. And there's a finite number of guys that could coach just any team.